Dean Gornitis, Unleash This Book Reviews, bringing you a new book review every single Saturday, regardless of if I stumble on my words or not. This week, doing new, old. I'm going really far back in time. William Shakespeare, A Midsummer Night's Dream. Alright, so I know probably a majority of you are flipping out that I just said Shakespeare. I know that there is a minority of people out there that are like, hell yeah, Shakespeare, party. But I, for one, walking into college as a freshman, was one of those people who was like, it's too hard. I don't get it. It's not worth my time. He's overrated. People just like him because he uses big words, blah, 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 all that stuff. But I'm here to teach you otherwise and how to show you, if you're not a big Shakespeare reader, how to turn that boat around and start floating down the river of the bard. Rule number 1, forget everything your high school teachers taught you. Rule number 2, forget 50% of what your college professors taught you. Because the only way nowadays, in my mind, to learn Shakespeare correctly and efficiently and quickly is with No Fear Shakespeare, produced by SparkNotes. I know, all your English teachers ever have told you that SparkNotes are a sin, and you use them all the time anyways because sometimes you didn't have enough time to finish the book, or sometimes you didn't understand the book, but most of the time you didn't have enough time to finish the book. SparkNotes has created No Fear Shakespeare, which is one of the most awesome inventions ever. What it does is it gives you the full Shakespeare play. On the right page, when you open the book, on the right-hand side is the Shakespeare. On the left-hand side is a modern interpretation. Now, of course, you could easily just read the entire left-hand side and get the modern interpretation without ever reading any of the Shakespeare. And that's great in and of itself because you're going to understand the story of what Shakespeare is about, and even if you don't particularly understand the language, if you were to see it live in a performance, you would be able to understand the underlying story, and it would help you grasp a lot of the things that were happening, and you'd be able to have intelligent conversations with people that do know Shakespeare. You wouldn't be left in the dark. But with No Fear Shakespeare, it's practically impossible to just read the modern interpretation because right next to it is the Shakespearean interpretation, the real stuff. And your eyes can't help but wander over to that page and look between the two and see the differences and see what kind of words Shakespeare would use in comparison to the words that we use today to mean the same thing. It's really fast, and after just reading 2 plays in this format, everything clicked with me with Shakespeare. And before that, my college professor had us each buy this catalog of every Shakespeare play ever. It was this thick with tons of annotations and all that, but no help as far as understanding the language of Shakespeare. And I went a whole semester not knowing what the hell I was reading. I figured it would take years and years to understand it, but that's not true. Cheat. Use the cheats. They're good. I can't help but believe that with this next generation of people our age becoming teachers and stuff like that, that this whole notion of online sources of things like SparkNotes and obviously like Wikipedia will become much more mainstream and acceptable as real ways to learn. Let's stop resisting. No Fear Shakespeare, check it out. Anyways, Midsummer Night's Dream, one of my favorite Shakespeare plays. I haven't read them all, but I've read 2 semesters worth. I took 2 courses, and it probably totaled out to 15 Shakespeare plays that I've read. Midsummer's Night's Dream is a comedy, and that's one of the main reasons that I like it. It's a love comedy, but it focuses on the funny stuff the most. And I think it's a great play to get into if you're looking to just start Shakespeare because, understanding the way Shakespeare writes is tough enough if you're not into it. You don't need the extra stuff of the deep philosophical thinkings of Hamlet and Othello to really twist things up and make it really hard to understand. You know what I mean? Sometimes the simple is just the better. And with A Midsummer's Night's Dream, Shakespeare spends more time focusing on the jokes and the humor than on the troubles of being a human being. So, Midsummer's Night Dream focuses on a few different parties, and I hope you will excuse me as I look down here or there at my play guide of characters, because Shakespeare specifically wrote this play for certain characters to get confused and mixed and mingled with other characters, so you're not always 100% sure who you're looking at, and I'll explain that later. But let's take a look at the categories here. You have looking, Oberon and Titiana. My pronunciations are never right with characters, but these are the king and queen of the fairies and sort of the forest, and they reign over the wilderness of the Midsummer's Night Dream, so to say. Now, they don't play the main role, but they are sort of onlookers at what the humans are doing, and the humans consist of Lysander, Demetrius, Hermia, and Helena. Yeah, Hermia and Helena. Now, if you're reading this, especially, and not seeing it on stage, you can easily understand how Hermia and Helena, if you're reading too fast, you get confused as to who is who, which is which, and that's intentional, because what this story is about is a number of different love triangles. You have Demetrius and Lysander, and Demetrius is who the father of Helena? See, I get confused too. Hermia. The father of Hermia wants Hermia to marry Demetrius, but Hermia is in love with Lysander. Helena is in love with Demetrius, but Demetrius doesn't want anything to do with Helena. He wants Hermia. Now, if that isn't complicated enough, Hermia and Lysander go out into the forest to run away from the father who does not want her to marry him. While they are out there, the king and queen of the fairies, Oberon especially, it actually wasn't the queen, it was just Oberon, sends out one of his mischievous fairies to spread love potion on the eyes of those that are sleeping. And I won't say which characters get it, that's part of the fun of the story, but soon Hermia's are Helena's in the eyes of Lysander's, and Demetrius's are Lysander's in the eyes of Hermia's and Helena's. It becomes very jumbled and very entertaining, because when we don't really understand which characters are in love with who and which one said what earlier, because their names sound so similar, and now even the people they love are interchanging. The characters don't know what's going on either, and it's just a big ruckus going on in the forest, and it's funny. And meanwhile, Oberon's getting a laugh because he didn't intentionally mean to do it to certain characters, and Puck, his special mischievous fairy, is getting extra hard laughs because he kind of enjoys that kind of stuff. And it's just funny stuff. And you have some little side stories is in all Shakespeare, with little side characters to help keep things varied, to change the pace of scenery. But that's the basic story behind Midsummer's Night Dream. Maybe it's just because the title has the word summer in it, but I really enjoy reading this book when it starts getting warmer out, or around Valentine's Day. I think it fits really well around this time of the year too. So, if you're looking to get into your first Shakespeare, check this one out. I think it's a little bit easier, a little bit more entry level, and if you like what you're reading here, then you're going to definitely know that other Shakespeare you read later on is going to be just as good, if not possibly better. Alright? Cool. Next week, A Clockwork Orange. I've been getting a lot of recommendations for that. Gonna shoot you my review of that, and you know what? It goes way deeper than just the language in that story. I really love that story. Alright, Win, settle down. Also, I am going to get to the Blood Meridian. I feel really bad for all you guys that are begging me to read Blood Meridian. I just have so many books stacked up, but I'm gonna get through them, and I will get to Blood Meridian, I promise. Lastly, I want you to check out a page, a book reviewer of my age from the UK, who is doing really cool book reviews with editing skills that are on par with mine, probably better, tastes in book that are very similar to mine. He's just an all-around cool kid, alright? I should have a link here that YouTube will let me do. If not, it will also be in the description box. Check out his book reviews. He rocks. Alright? Cool. See you next week.